Hello and welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. It was an interesting week to get stuck in right away. News number one are positive news for all of our retail investors, and I would say negative news if you're on the front of Bitcoin reserves, nation state adoption, these kind of things. Through a Freedom of Information Act, short FOIA, someone actually requested to know what the exact number is that the US holds in Bitcoin. So far, there has always been this 210,000 number. And it appears that that number has been wrong because based on that FOIA, you actually have less than 30,000 Bitcoin in the US's possession, or at least in a governmental environment. FOIA acts are actually something every citizen in America, and for that matter, everyone who requests the FOIA act via form can actually submit. So it's a good tool to really get the information basics out from the state. And considering now that the US still has the plan with 1 million Bitcoin in 5 years, there is a lot of Bitcoin that they would need to buy. Whether they get through with this, we will see. There's also this back and forth with all of the crypto legislation and the Bitcoin legislation and these kind of things. And apparently the crypto week announced last week by Trump really went into a very back and forth week in the House and now also in the Senate. However, again, as I said, good for retail investors. There is more Bitcoin out there than what we anticipated, and it seems like you have still enough time to get some. Speaking of getting some, we also have to talk about the all-time high. I know it's more appealing than the US news, but I went with the US news first, negative news, and then you do something positive. We reached a new all-time high in the US dollar, 123,000 briefly. And with that, you obviously have a new all-time high in other currencies as well. The euro also is now back above 100,000 euros per Bitcoin. However, this seems to be like a magical mark. A lot of whales actually started selling their coins. Could be understandable. They may have gotten in at a good price if you measure it in fiat, and they now want to take some out to, I don't know, buy a house, buy a car, enjoy life, I guess. However, you did see a lot of the volatility again. This is to be anticipated. Whenever we reach an all-time high, you do have sell-off pressure. But considering that you had the back and forth in the US with the legislation stuff, is the Genius Act going to pass or not? Are the crypto things going to pass or not? Is the state reserve now here or not? Less than 200K, blah, blah, blah. Bitcoin actually held up quite nicely. And at the time of recording, we're back at 119,000 per coin. But nevertheless, there is a, let's say, magical mark for whales to actually sell some coins. And then lastly, we also have some controversial news in the Bitcoin development community. There is a proposal to actually block, or I would even go as far as say censor, they actually said freeze, but I think it's censoring, wallets that are quantum attackable. Quantum computing is a hot topic. If quantum computers can really break any encryption, Bitcoin is the least of our worries. It would break the internet, it would break every banking connection, it would basically break every state government site and every security agent and everything in between. But nevertheless, it's hot in the Bitcoin community as a talking point because you kind of go down, well, do we censor for security's sake? Or do we just let it be? Because the good thing about Bitcoin is that proposal is out there. It's now up to nodes, everyone in the network, miners, to adopt this. If they accept this, this is common sense. This is why you have a consensus. But nevertheless, it's kind of hypocritical to actually say we're censorship resistant and then propose something like this. We'll need to wait and see and to see what happens. But so far, the proposal is out there, and it's now up to the network to decide what to do with it. And with that, we're at the end of This Week in Bitcoin. You know the drill. If you got questions, feedback, or just want to say hello, leave me a comment below, and I look forward to seeing you next week again.